casually walking down the road, and then all you hear is ding 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 ding, get off the bike path. Which is so weird to me. This is not the place for you. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sitting outside because it is a beautiful day in Germany. Today's video is going to be about the culture shocks I've experienced since moving to Germany. I've only been here so far for a month, but I figured it's best to do this video while everything's still so fresh and all the changes very weird to me still. If I do experience some more things, I definitely will make a part 2, but these are the few things that I've experienced so far since being here. One of the first things that I noticed very quickly after moving to Germany was that you have to pay for public toilets. This isn't absolutely everywhere, but pretty much most places you have to pay for the public toilets. It is about 50 cents for the toilet, sometimes 70, but yeah, about the 50-cent mark to go to the toilet. And there's usually like a lady standing outside that will collect your money or give you change if you need, or just like monitoring the service. And if there's not, there's like one of those walk-through barriers which you can't get through unless you pay, or sometimes there's both the lady and the walk-through barrier. So it is kind of weird, but it could make sense if the public toilets were super clean, but I find that most of the toilets aren't as clean as I guess you'd expect them to be to pay for the toilets, but a lot of them are still very clean and very nice. But yeah, it's just not all the time, so I'm not sure why I have to pay for them all the time. Another thing with the public toilets is that they're never or barely ever on the ground floor. You always have to either walk down the stairs or up the stairs in restaurants and whatnot to go to the bathroom. So if you have a disability or find it hard to go up or down stairs, honestly, it's not that convenient here to use the bathroom anyway. It's kind of weird. I'm not sure why they do it, but it's just something that I've noticed as well. Next thing that I've noticed is that there is barely no aircon around. It is obviously summer and pretty warm at the moment, that's why I'm wearing this singlet. But in the shopping centres, trains, buses, all the places that in Australia that would usually have aircon don't have any aircon. So on these hotter days like today, going shopping and going on public transport can be quite uncomfortable for me anyway. No one else, I don't notice anyone else really minding it, but for me it's quite uncomfortable because I'm sitting on the train like sweating. So it's really not that comfortable. They have windows, but obviously underground trains and stuff, there's breeze, but it really doesn't compensate for how hot it is. But maybe that is just because I'm so used to having aircon in all those places. Even I'm so used to the feeling of like the sliding doors opening at a shopping centre and feeling the cool breeze, but that just doesn't happen here. You walk in and it's just as hot as it is outside, which is so weird to me. But yeah, that's another thing. Obviously because it's super cold here most of the time, and the summers don't usually get this hot. Usually it's still like a normal temperature, or not as cold. Usually it's still a little bit colder, so they don't really need aircon, but this year, or as long as I've been here, it's been like 30 degrees and high 20s and stuff, so it's been super hot and there's been no aircon. But honestly, can't complain, I guess. Yeah, it's just really weird. It's nothing too major, but no aircon. So if you love aircon, this is not the place for you. Even in hotels and houses and things like that, they don't have aircon. They all have heating systems because obviously it gets super cold here and it doesn't usually get as hot. The next thing that I found kind of strange is that they have bike paths on the sidewalk, which isn't honestly that strange, but the thing is they usually don't say bike path on them. They're just a different coloured cement that you just have to know is the bike path. Once you know, it's not as hard, but people just notice not walk on the bike path and things like that. Locals do get quite annoyed and aggressively ding their bell, or not yell, but like I guess yell at you to move off the bike path if you are walking on the bike path. And yeah, it's just kind of weird to have that because obviously bikes aren't as common in Australia as it is in Germany, so it is quite a normal thing to have lots of people riding bikes around to get to and from, because lots of people don't actually own cars as well, or just have one car per household or something like that. Not as much as at home. I had a car, my brother had a car, my mum had a car, and my dad had a car, because it's not as easy to get around on the bike. But yeah, here bike paths are a huge thing, so don't forget to not walk on the bike path. I'll insert a photo of what they kind of look like. Some are much more obvious than others, but some are just like it's a shade darker than the actual sidewalk. so it's kind of hard to remember, I guess, if you don't see a bike sign or anything, and then next thing you're just getting yelled at by a biker, just casually walking down the road, and then all you hear is ding 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 ding, get off the bike path. One thing that I don't think is that weird, but I just never really heard about in Germany, is tipping. Tipping is actually a normal thing here, which I don't know if that's that shocking to people, but I just thought that was a thing that happens in America and maybe some other countries, but I just didn't think that happened in Germany. Most of the time you tip about 10% at restaurants and things like that, and then when you're buying like a drink or a coffee or anything, you just usually round it up to the nearest whole dollar or like the next dollar up or something like that, just to tip a little bit. But yeah, it is a normal thing here to tip. It is polite to tip, and you should tip when going to restaurants or cafes and things like that. So yeah, just keep that in mind if you are thinking of coming to Germany. Better and more... I'm so sorry, that was like the fattest bee that I've seen in a while. There's so many bees in Germany as well. That's another thing that's not on my list. But there are so many bees and wasps. Every time you eat, they just come and surround your plates. And even in like bakeries and stuff, all the sweet treats have like 50 wasps on them inside the bakery. It's so weird, but it's just like a normal thing here, I guess. Anyways, what was I even saying? Oh yeah, tipping. Tipping is a usual thing here, which you should be doing. And just like giving a heads up, because I honestly didn't know about tipping, so if I were to come here and no one had told me, I probably would never have done it, and people probably would have given me dirty looks. Another thing that most people do already know about Germany or Europe, or mainly, yeah, Germany, is that everyone pretty much just uses cash. In Australia, everyone uses card for everything, pretty much, like 90% card, I would say, and here it's probably like 50-50. So like carrying cash in your wallet is a normal thing, and sometimes like restaurants and cafes will ask you to bring cash instead of paying by card, because it's just easier, because I don't know, cash is just a really popular thing here. People find it a bit easier to track their expenses using cash, and they trust the banking systems and stuff as much as we do, I guess, in Australia or anywhere else. So yeah, cash is a huge thing here. You can get around without it, but I'd say you can't get around to smaller places without cash. One more thing that was a bit weird for me when I came over here is realizing that everything is closed on Sundays. So it hasn't really personally affected me that much yet, but I can see how it could either be a pro or a con depending on your work, your day-to-day life and everything like that. This is because it became a law in like 19-something because of religious reasons, and they just kept it like that. In 2006 or so, that law was actually not 100% revoked, but just like eased down a little bit, which means more places could be open on Sundays if they wanted to, but everyone's pretty much just decided to stick to the tradition of it all and stay closed on Sundays, which I think is kind of nice. It's a peaceful day for everyone to just relax and hang out and enjoy their lives a little bit, I guess. So yeah, that's another thing that's a little bit strange. Another common misconception about Germany is that the public transport is spot on. Don't get me wrong, there is definitely much more public transport here and more often times and whatnot in Germany than there is in Australia, where I live, or anything in Brisbane. But the S-Bahns and U-Bahns have had so many cancellations, so many delays. Just like pretty much every time I go to catch a train, it's always late or always delayed or something, or doesn't even show up. It's been honestly a bit of a drag, but it's just something that shocked me because I just thought the public transport in Germany was like exact times and everything. So it is a bit weird. And one last thing that I didn't originally have planned to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Clubs over here don't open until 11, and they're like empty at 11 as well. They're like empty, completely empty at 11. And then at like 12 to 3, that's when they actually start to get busy and things start happening. And then they usually are either open all night or close at like 6 a.m. or something. So it's completely different to in Australia, where we go start drinking at like 8 or 9 and then head to the club at 11 and then leave by like 2 or 3 because that's when they close. The nightlife is like late nightlife, which is kind of good as well, because if you finish work late you can still go out, whereas at home if you finish work late there's not really enough time to do anything because the club's close so early. But yeah, that's just another thing that I thought I would mention in my video. And that's everything that I've got about Germany. If I think of anything else that I want to say, or if I think of any more culture shocks and stuff, I will make a part 2. So far I've had such a great time in Germany. I'm going to be moving to Berlin in 3 days. 3 days. Going to be moving to Berlin in 3 days, and I'll do an apartment tour and everything like that, some more stuff about my time in Germany. So if you're interested in that, subscribe down below, and yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.